you know,
Yeah.
even so, I mean, because you have had more access to information, you're younger than I am. Have you been at a place in crisis where you can identify? I mean, you said when you were at school you were going through where you lost weight and everything, but that was stress about coming out to your family. But did you ever feel like you were in the point, like, I mean, Benny, when you like went to the river and you were like, I could drown myself, and almost everybody I talked to, they all were in this place. There's some point where they say, okay, it was that time where I went here and I was actually I was contemplating suicide, and my family didn't know. Have you ever been at a point of crisis like that?
I've never felt suicidal before, ever. In high school, sometimes I would think about it. I thought, well, what if my spirit, my consciousness, whatever, what if I had just never existed? And what if this world had never existed? What if the universe and God had just never existed? And, you know, empty space. What if empty space had never even existed? I would think about that all the time, and I'd be like, everything would just be so much easier. And I wouldn't even have to worry about any of this stuff, because I was, you know, guilt-ridden and stuff. Thinking, like, I need to talk to the bishop.
Well, why do you think that you never... Do you think that just education or exposure?
I don't think so. Because
or attitudes, or is it just that you are a very strong person?
I really don't know. But I've just never really felt suicidal. I don't...
Did you... Because you never felt... Do you still feel... Obviously you felt a lot of pressure, though.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, at school, you were saying.
Yeah,
so,
a lot of pressure, but I was like... I don't know, from the... I guess people talk about it a lot. From the, you know, whether it's better to kill yourself or live your life, you know, in homosexuality, you know, wrapping up all this in your whole life or whatever, you know. What's worse? And from a Mormon thought process, I can kind of see that, you know, well, suicide, one sin, you know, just get rid of that, and then you're golden, because, you know, or your whole life of being gay, and then that's so much worse, because you've got all this stuff built up, and, you know, you're going to die, and Judgment Day is going to be so much worse. I can see that, but somehow, you know, it just never really, like, that makes logical sense to me, but, you know, it's not true.
Good.
It's not, it doesn't, because I totally run on, like, what my heart tells me to do. That's why I'm in New York this summer and stuff. Like, I didn't even really know what I was getting into when I came out here. I just had a chance, and something said, go to New York, and I said, I'm going to New York.
Because I didn't realize, I'm just starting to see that that's really a pattern that seems to be predominant. It's just not a me and Tommy thing, because I always knew that Tommy and I were, this is weird, that we were really connected.
Yeah.
But he was...
Even when I was just born.
But he was always so closed off to me, and so I couldn't understand why I felt so connected to someone who was so close to me. It was just weird. I didn't spend a lot of time, you know, like agonizing over it, but just to know that there was that inconsistency, that incongruity. And I think too, and I haven't told Tommy this before, but I think I knew that Tommy was gay when he was very little, and I think I just didn't know what I was seeing. I just didn't know what I knew.
What made you?
It's like something's different. You knew something was different.
He was born in the year of the boy, and we were living in Utah County, and there. No,
the boy.
That's what I call it, because there were so many boys born that year. He was due on July 24th, and my visiting teacher was pregnant, due on July 24th, and we both had boys. She had hers the day before. I had mine the day after. We lived on this little 10-house cul-de-sac. 5 of us had boys in that year.
No way.
And this
What year?
1989. 89. And this one I talked about was down the street. He wasn't even on the cul-de-sac, and then another kid around the corner, you know, another one around the corner. There was just a very big group of boys that year. So I had a lot of comparison.
Alexis. Yeah, my little brother born there too.
Yeah. Well, it just seemed like where are all these boys coming from? But there was a lot of comparison there, because there were little boys his age everywhere, and I could see that Tommy was not doing what everybody else did, and I never was a person to. I've always believed that that my kids should be who they were going to be, that they didn't have to be who I thought they needed to be, or that
stereotype and all that.
Yeah, I was always very interested in letting them express their true selves.
That's really big of you, I think, because not all
kids get that experience. I think a lot of families, there's like an expectation. Like I think that maybe
gay or straight.
Yeah, gay or straight
matter.
or Mormon or Hindu or
Yeah.
Muslim. I mean, it doesn't even matter. I think even in my family a little bit, my mom felt like there always was an expectation, and it was for my own good, that if I lived my life the way that she thought I should, that I would be better off, you know, as opposed to being like, you, Nick, as an individual, need to grow to your own, like your own state of happiness and your own, like you need to develop individually and creatively. It was more of a, well, you need to grow individually and creatively, like right.
And here's your parameters.
You know. So I think that's what I'm saying is I think that's so I think that's so great that you were able to see beyond that. You know.
Yeah. And it's been a strong value with me. It's like, don't tread on me. I'm serious. I'm doing what I'm going to do, and you don't have much to say about it. So. But I wanted that for the kids too. So I could see like Tommy didn't want to do team sports, for instance, and everybody else was doing it, and Tommy was just like. And at one point I tried to put him in karate because I thought, well, karate's not he's individual.
Oh my God.
And that lasted, I don't know, not more than a year, and he was miserable.
My only memory of that was like laying underneath the kitchen table, like screaming and crying because I did not want to go because I hated karate.
So it was like, oh, we dropped that idea. But even when he was younger, I would say about 3, and it was like, okay, Tommy's not doing what these other boys are doing. I mean, he was much happier playing with the little neighbor girl next door, and he's always really been good with girls and had his best friends
You
were
know,
girls.
it's a stereotype that tends to be very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think at one point I thought, oh no. I think I must have, and I just don't, I just didn't keep playing it over and over in my mind, so it didn't really stick. But now that I go back to it, I think I really must have known at about that age, about 3 or so, that he was, and I thought, could it be? No. And so
It wasn't until you saw the rose.
And so I didn't, and so I really didn't dwell on it or think about it, but now that I play it back, I think I knew. I just didn't know what I knew. I didn't have any way to put
So
my impressions in
what do you think
context.
the future holds for you in your life, and what do you see I mean, do you have an idea? Do you think, this is what my life's going to turn out, this is what I want out of life, or a relationship, or not a relationship, or...
Well,
there's new expectations now,
I'm
and new boxes.
Pursuing a relationship. Like when I first came out to my mom, she was like, well, I really truly want you to find a good, healthy relationship with someone who you are really in love with, and who's really in love with you, and if it's with another man, that's okay. And my insights just sort of exploded into fireworks at that moment, because I was just like, my mom is so cool. But for my future, I see BYU is sort of my last real tie to activity in Mormonism, and then I plan on, I don't know how it'll play out at all, but having a relationship with a guy, a committed one, of course. And I also, other than that, I don't really know, because
you're really young still. You're like, do I want to have
I'm 19,
kids? Do you
so-
see yourself in the future having children?
Well, I mean, I've spent this summer working with 5 recently adopted kids, which has been a really, really good experience. Totally shown me what it would be like, and right now I'm totally like, no way, give me 15, 20 years, and then I'll think about it. But it's so just adopting children is. I mean, I know people who are like, well, I'm gay, and I want my kids to have my genetics and everything, like my own flesh and blood, and that just doesn't really ring for me. I think finding a kid who's already out there, who needs your help, who doesn't have love, and then bringing them in and giving them that love is really spiritually enticing.
Good for you.